We are recording. Let's get it. Welcome in, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Frogs of War podcast. My name is Ryan Bennell, and alongside me is my co-host, Anthony North. We've got a great episode planned for today. We'll be covering some quick news hits from around the TCU sports world, as well as recapping last week's episode where Anthony and I predicted the not college station. Sorry, I'm thinking about TCU baseball, but the super regional stage and who would move on to the College World Series. So we'll be talking about who picked right, who picked wrong, who won that. Well, we'll get into it. But a little bit of a wrap up, as you may have seen on the website yesterday. We posted the first of what will be a series, just an overall recap kind of from the 2021-2022 athletic year. We're going to go sport by sport, chronological order, starting with soccer. That's the one that's up now. So go check that out and also be on the lookout for more articles. But for now, we're going to be discussing kind of a little bit of the key points from each sport and all their accomplishments from their season this year. And of course, closing the out with some of our favorite moments from the year before a little teaser to next week's episode where we're going to do some superlatives. But don't need to think that far ahead. Let's go ahead and get right into it with some quick news hits. Anthony, what do we got?
Yeah, so first thing happening this week. So the MLB draft combine is happening in San Diego this week. Starting Thursday and Friday, you can actually catch it on MLB Network. So if you have that, you can watch some of this stuff live. But TC Horned Frogs, Riley Cornelio, and Austin Krob will be attending. They've been invited. That's not necessarily an indication or a definitive that they will be continuing professionally and departing Fort Worth to a professional career, but it is an indication that they are strongly considered by the big leagues as top prospects. So we talked about them being on the prospect list last week and potentially departing the roster. Certainly, we'd love to have him back at TCU and leading the pitching staff for the Frogs into next season, but certainly have um, an opportunity here in the pros to show off what they've got.
Yeah, I think both of them definitely deservedly made this, made the combine, got the invite. And I think for Cornelio's sake, and maybe this is just kind of the fan side of me, and obviously I want both of them back, but looking at it, I think Krob would probably have the better shot of like an instant transition. His injury has to be fine. He has to be working on all cylinders in that aspect. But I think Cornelio just has a little bit more, I don't know if maturity is the word, but just like consistency, I guess, to develop because he has the stuff. He has some nasty stuff and definitely major league potential. But like we said last week, like Schlossnagel even commented in the post-game presser, Austin Krob might be the next great lefty out of TCU. So I wouldn't be too surprised. But if they were to be drafted like in the later rounds, what do you think they would do? Do you think they would come back for another year? I would like to think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to give up that once you've got that the taste of the professional dream.
Mm-hmm.
To just kind of decide to walk away from it. I mean, both of these guys have struggled with some injuries, and you don't want to kind of put yourself in a position where you throw that opportunity away. And certainly, I would think coming back for both of them, they could improve their slots, particularly Riley.
Yeah, for sure.
But Krob kind of going out in his best performance of the season in against A&M last week and showing that he's back from the injury. I think he's definitely in the best spot to where he probably could have gone pro after last season, to be honest. And so we got lucky to get him back another year, and I wouldn't expect him to come back this season.
Yeah, kind of taking one out of Kirk Sarloos's book when he was talking about Tommy Sacco and like how he went from last year having a bit of hitting struggles to now being such a key offensive piece to the team. I think Austin Krob could develop like. Hold on, sorry, I'm kind of blanking right now. You pick it up. I just forgot exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible that he becomes an ace number one starter? We know he has the stuff. He has that ability.
I got it.
And he could come in and become that guy who becomes a first round draft pick. And do you make yourself an extra $1 million by spending an extra year in Fort Worth? Maybe, but it'll be a tough decision for him personally, I imagine.
Yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say. Total brain fart there. But Sarlus was basically saying that MLB teams don't necessarily look at, what you can do. Obviously, they look at your skill set, your talent, but they more so look at whenever you have a setback, how do you come back? Like how do you fight back from that setback rather than just giving up type of thing, which obviously is going to be important. But I think Crow, although it's just one game, that's pretty big to have like his performance of the year after such a long hiatus without a start, without pitching more than 2 innings, and then to come out there and do that definitely would help his stock in the draft. But again, would love to see them both come back. So hopefully we see him in purple and white again next year. But best of luck to both of them. Who knows what'll happen? So whatever's best for them, that's what I hope happens.
Yep, on to some conference-wide news. So the big news this past week, it was announced that the teams from the American Conference will formally be able to join the Big 12 in the 2023 athletic season. So starting next year. We already knew BYU was scheduled to join for next year, so now also Houston and Cincinnati and UCF will be joining the fold here in the Big 12. And it's going to be a really interesting and unique season because still officially, technically, Oklahoma and Texas will still be in the conference at that time. So with the media deal and officially their deal to leave for the SEC is not until I think 25.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is, yeah.
So maybe have an opportunity to for the Sooners to travel to Nippert in Cincinnati, or the Longhorns to travel to the Bounce House in Orlando. So there's definitely some fun opportunities here, and it'll be an interesting. There's a lot on the table too, because it'll be a question of, does the Big 12 do some sort of division setup where you split sides and have a conference championship by divisions. A lot to be decided by the conference office, and probably a lot for us to talk about over the next year as that all kind of plays out. But it's exciting that we get those teams formally to join next season, and we'll be. I'm looking forward to welcoming those fans and those teams in. I still wish Memphis was one of them, but
Yeah.
But it's interesting times in the Big 12 for sure.
I was on the Boise State hype train whenever this was all coming together. I really wanted to kind of restore that slight rivalry, not like a true rivalry, but there's a little bit of bad blood. But no, I am very excited to see how this is going to pan out. There's been just so many question marks surrounding this, and obviously I don't work for the NCAA. I don't know all the semantics and the details of how these contracts work out, but like Anthony said, they're supposed to be stuck until 2025 because of their media rights deal, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to me because the buyout for OU and UT, don't quote me, I think it was around like 78 million. They would make that in 1 year back in the SEC. Like one season, they would make that back in profit. So I'm kind of still a little bit confused, is like why they are electing to stay, OU and UT. I get the Big 12's perspective. They're trying to get their money, trying to keep things on contract, keep it under order without just letting people go willy-nilly. But, OU and UT could literally just say deuces whenever they wanted to, theoretically. So I've kind of never really got that.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, what's money to the Sooners and the Longhorns? I mean, the money doesn't matter, right? It's fake,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
fiction,
like that's why they're
it's
going.
monopoly money. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's why I keep kind of saying, they are technically still in the conference through 25, but I do think there's going to be continued negotiations on that, and
Probably some
efforts
change.
from those presidents and athletic directors to make their way to the SEC as soon as they can.
Yeah, no, I'm also excited too, just in general, not only for the weird 2-year mashup of the massive conference, but just in general the conference outlook for the future with these new teams. Like, man, basketball is going to be nuts. I know we're talking about football right now, but basketball is going to be nuts with these new teams. All of them are tournament caliber teams. And, football, I mean, Cincy's not too bad. Houston's not too bad. None of them are too bad. UCF 2017 national champions, quote unquote.
Don't do that.
I'm going to give it to them, honestly. I'll give it to them.
All right. Well, yeah, give the Frogs the 14 and the 10. And
okay. I will. Yeah,
let's take it.
I mean, but I would love to see that matchup too. The UCF TCU, that would be a fun one. I feel like we're kind of both like, I don't want to say the people's underdog, but we've kind of been a very big underdog for a long time. And I don't know if it's just, obviously I'm a TCU fan, so I like TCU, but a lot of people like UCF just because they're the little guy, and like they just want to see them knock off the big teams. So
I don't know. I think people liked UCF until they did that whole national championship stuff.
Yeah,
I think that
you might be right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old man. I'm like, nah, get that.
No, you might be right, because they were showing like, oh, look at our rings. They got rings for that.
It's a little embarrassing, to be honest. But
so yeah, whatever. They did take it a bit far. I thought maybe like a tweet or something would have been fine, but yeah, I mean, it's all fun and games, I guess, but they haven't been back to that caliber since. So who knows if they'll be able to make the jump to the Big 12. That's one thing that I'm kind of curious about too, is everybody talked about with TCU going from the Mountain West to the Big 12. Would they be able to handle it? Because it's a pretty steep curve. So are all these new teams going to be able to just pick it up right away? I think Houston is probably going to have the biggest struggles.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a clear jump in just depth and talent, but I don't think it'll take long for them to be able. I mean, these are pretty strong programs with strong recruiting bases that have recent history of really performing at a high level. So I think they're going to come right in and all be in the middle to upper part of the conference. I mean, I don't think they're going to come in and be bottom dwellers right away. I mean, I guess as long as Kansas is around,
nobody's taking that spot
in football. But I think they could. They'll be competing with TCU and Oklahoma State and Baylor at the top of the conference. You have to think, once UT and Oklahoma are gone. I mean, I don't know. We talk about UT. They haven't really done anything in the conference in a while, so it's more Oklahoma at the top, and then everybody else. But
it's more so just that UT name.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I kind of said Houston at first was, I don't know. I don't know if they're necessarily going to transition right away. They got Dana Holgerson still, right? He's still, yeah. So that's the only reason that I kind of give him hope a little bit, is that he knows the conference. He knows how to get it done. But I'm mostly curious to see Cincinnati. Wait, what were you going to say before I go on?
Yeah, I mean, just Houston, they're going to get dudes. I mean, just the sheer number of athletes in Houston. I mean, they're to be able to say, all right, you get to come play in the Big 12 and stay at home, basically. The number of superstar athletes that come out of there, I mean, it's going to be, they have the ability to recruit at as high a level as anyone in the conference.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that. So definitely like within 2 or 3 years, they'll bolster up because I'm sure their recruiting is going to get 10 times better being in the Big 12. So, and especially just a Texas team in general, Houston being one of the biggest hubs. Hell yeah. So I don't know though, for the first year, we'll see. Because maybe I'm just a little bit biased because I have my teams that I like and don't like, just watching college football. And I've always seen Houston as kind of that one where I'm like, if they're ranked, I'm like, man, there's so many other group of 5 teams that deserve this more, but it is what it is. But the one that I really am curious to see is Cincinnati. And that's a bit ironic because they are kind of the top dog of this new group of 4, being that they were literally in the college football playoff last year. But I'm curious to see if they can pick it up right away. And I really think they will, because I am big on Luke Fickell as a coach. I'm big on that system they got. I know they lost Desmond Ridder, but I'm sure they're going to fill his shoes pretty quickly. Their recruiting has been great over the past few years.
Their recruiting has been very, very strong. So I don't see them falling off at all coming into the conference.
And I mean, we talk about hubs like Ohio. Ohio's probably like second or third in the country, I guess, behind Texas and California, probably. So like, they're not picking up too shabby of recruits either. So that's going to be a fun one. I'm excited for that. Plus, I have family. I'm actually wearing my Bengals shirt right now, ironically. So I was going to say I have family in Ohio, so that'll be a fun one. Maybe fly down for that game. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Anything else?
there was some other news on that about the basketball scheduling, the way that they plan to do that with the new members coming in. That
Oh yeah, they're
you'll
keeping it.
yeah, you'll get 5 home and homes. So it's the same number of conference games, but you won't get to
Mhm.
play. It's not true round robin anymore, obviously. So you wouldn't get to play everybody home and home. So you'd get, and I guess there would be some attempt to keep like natural rivals or something like that in your 5 home and homes. Um, I think it'd be kind of cool if they just let UT and OU play the new guys as the home and homes, just so that give those fan bases they get a chance to yell at Texas and
Yeah,
Oklahoma
exactly.
in their home stadiums. I mean, that's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, it also kind of is like a transition period almost to get UT and OU away from the core of the Big 12,
Yeah.
the irate eight, as they may say. But no, I think it'll be pretty sweet in general. The basketball with the 5 home and home. I think we might end up getting though a super tough schedule
Yeah. The
like
the
Texas
Baylor,
Tech.
Texas Tech,
Yeah, Baylor, Texas
Houston.
Tech. Those are 2 for sure. Houston's probably going to come up in one of them, and then probably Oklahoma State as well.
Yeah, that's tough.
That Yeah, I don't even care who the 5th team is. That would just already be brutal. But we're used to it. We've had a tough schedule every year. Made it to the tournament this year. So with this team though, next year, honestly, we could home and home anybody. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to home and home Kansas. Let's go sweep them. I'm confident.
Yeah, and I guess sticking on basketball, just a little bit of basketball news that came through in the last week. So it's official that the TCU basketball will be participating in the Emerald Coast Classic again, a kind of non-conference preseason, early season tournament that the Frogs won back in 2017. Um, and that's been known for a while, but now we know that the Frogs' first round matchup in, I guess it's just outside Destin, in Florida, will be the Cal Bears, um, a team that TCU should run off
Beat.
the floor.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
beat.
and it's early to be talking that big talk like that, but Cal finished sub 140 in Ken Palm last year, and TCU is expected to be really good. So that's a game that the Frogs have to win on a neutral floor. It's a game maybe Cal surprises and can be in the top 100, and that makes it like a Q2 win being on a neutral floor. I think if I'm remembering my
Hey, that'd be sweet.
quadrants, but you lose that kind of game, and it could end up being a Q3 loss, and that would be really bad to the resume going into
Yeah,
March.
as a team like TCU, you can't afford any blemish on your resume like that, like at all, because the committee is going to look at it and they're going to blow it up. They're going to turn a molehill, take it into a mountain, just off that one little blip. So
Yeah, everything matters. And then on the other side of the bracket, it'll be Clemson and Iowa. Iowa was certainly excellent this last season, but losing Keegan Murray to the NBA, he was a superstar. So we'll see how they jump back. But those are both teams that are at least bubble quality and probably tournament quality. So
I'd say they're
um,
both tournament quality.
yeah, so you're getting an opportunity to get a win and then get a big time game where you can really boost the resume. So
Yeah, big out
um,
of conference win.
yeah, I guess just to say for Cal, they did add a transfer, Devin Askew, who was a 4-star, top 30, top 40 level recruit. Was as a freshman at Kentucky, he started a bunch of games, transferred to Texas, and really didn't play much at all. I think he played like 30 minutes total in the 3 games against TCU, not producing very much, but obviously a big time talent. I don't know how much that adds to Cal as a threatening team, but we've seen the Frogs run into those teams where they have one star and it knocks them down. So it's looking far ahead. That's not until the end of November. It's
Yeah,
like
I mean it's
Thanksgiving
fun.
time, but it's June and we've got only so much to talk about. So
Yeah, it's fun to ponder it because I mean it is also just big. Like we kind of have to win that game, and it is ironic to say you have to win the first game of a very long season against a subpar team. But you know, TCU surprises you every now and then. We're supposed to be really good, but like last year in what was it, the SoCal Challenge, dropped that game against Santa Clara, like
Yep.
an ugly game. Because I think we play Santa Clara 10 times. We beat them 8 out of 10 times, probably. Santa
And that's
Clara's
one of
not
those
a bad team.
they had a star. He's going to be in the NBA. He's going to be drafted probably in the first round this year. That I can't remember his name off the top, but they've got a dude. And when you've got a dude and you don't play up to stop him, you end up dropping a game like that where, yeah, that just losing that game alone kept TCU on the bubble probably longer than
Exactly.
should have. It was a
Yeah,
blemish.
it was exactly. So I think having a Santa Clara loss would be better than having a California loss. So I prefer to not have any more blemishes next year, but we still got a long way to go until that. But
Yeah, it's a long way, but I did see Joe Lenardi released a bracketology already. It has
oh
TCU
boy,
as a 4 seed, where
no way.
yeah, 4 seed against our friends with our identical logo, Grand Canyon,
Oh god.
GCU, and then in the 5 seed was Arizona. So if we were to both win, we'd be matched up in the second round again. Just for narratives, Lenardi knows how to put that narrative together on the
I want
way
that
too early
actually.
bracketology.
I want that matchup. I want to
Bring it
meet
on.
Arizona again. Yeah, bring it on. You don't have Benedict Matherin to save you from 35 feet out this time. But I'm all for it. No, that would be actually hilarious if we were matched up against GCU though, because the logo, it always frustrates me. I'm just like, come on, guys. You have just one job. Just change up the outline, change up something. No, it is just identical. So I feel like if that happens, there's going to be a lot of
Where's our
accidental
copyright
brackets.
infringement lawyers? Come on, let's.
Yeah, right. Come on, let's get something together. But I feel like I'm going to accidentally pick GCU on my bracket just because I'm like, oh, the purple CU. But yeah, that's actually crazy that because Lenardi is absurdly good at what he does. Like he has gotten 67 out of 68 teams correct a year before this selection show. Like he just knows things. I don't know how he does it. So if he says TCU could be a 4 seed, I will take Lenardi's word for it. But that seems a bit far fetched for me. Just knowing what I know about TCU basketball history, that would just be unworldly. I couldn't even believe it if that happened. I'll take it though.
Yeah, I mean that team that ended up losing to Syracuse in the tournament a few years ago was a 6 seed, and I don't know that they had a particularly overly impressive
Yeah,
season to get a 6 seed. So, to make a leap to a 4, that's totally
it's not
possible.
crazy, I guess. Yeah, no, because you're right. I thought we had a better season or better resume even last year in
Yeah.
the tournament than we did when we got the 6 seed. So, also kind of funny side note about that game. That game happened like the month before my college decision was due, and I had applied to TCU and
Oh yeah,
Syracuse.
yeah.
And so I literally was watching with my parents. I'm like, all right, whoever wins this game, that's where I'm going to school. And then Syracuse won, and I'm like, man,
That's not what I
forget
wanted.
forget that. Like that's overrated. Like I'm going to TCU anyway. Like it was supposed to work out, but oh well. But yeah, so in other news, Mapaya from the track and field team is a triple jump national champion. He's been racking it up throughout the Big 12 meets, now the national meets, which actually track and field is still the only TCU sport going. It finishes up, I think, like June 24th, 25th, 26th, around that area. So yeah, he's two-time national champion, five-time Big 12 champion, and he has 9 All-American honors. So have yourself a career, Mapaya. Those are some crazy numbers carrying the TCU track team.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was about to say, like
a Horn Frog
that's
legend,
nuts.
Hall of Fame. Definitely going into the Horn Frog Hall of Fame. No question about it.
Yeah, he's getting a little 1x1 square in the Schollmeyer Arena,
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
sir.
It's a little drawing of his face for sure.
Yeah. Those things are so cool. I don't know why. I just always have liked that part of the stadium. I had a project where we had to do like an augmented reality and bring one of them to life. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, and then moving on kind of back to football, we've got some recruiting action heating up. 24/7 Sports has us in the top 20 overall team rankings, which is a good sign. Everybody kind of expected some recruiting hype with Sonny Dykes coming in based on his tenure at SMU. He was a beast at recruiting and bringing in transfer players. So I have high hopes as well. For example, 4-star D lineman Avion Carter from Amarillo visited, or did he commit already? My bad.
He's committed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And is the top guy in the class so far. And he's the jewel, the belle of the ball at the moment for this Horned Frog class. And um, he's got skills. Like I watched some of the college tape that's available on Huddle or on 24/7, and he lines up inside, lines up as D end. He can push through guys. He's got moves. He's got a swim, like an arm swim where he just gets past the O lineman.
So I'm hearing Jerry Hughes 2.0.
Yeah,
Is
he's got
that what I'm
speed, he's
hearing?
got power, he's got moves. This guy's a dude. He's a legit 4-star. I think his overall ranking might not knock you out of your chair. I think he's in like the 150s, something
I
like
mean,
that
that's still
overall,
really
which
good.
is really good. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's just going to keep climbing because he's definitely got that kind of profile where if he puts up a double digit sack season in his senior season of high school, he's going to just jump up these ranks. But it's a big get for Sonny Dykes
Hmm.
to shore up that defensive line.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, TCU's had a lot of big D linemen in the past, like what Ben Banagoo, Jerry Hughes, Wayne Daniels. You can go down the list. Ross Blacklock. I mean, just countless. So it seems like a little bit of a DLU, if you will. D lineman U.
Let's do it. Let's. I think we losing some guys to transfer portal, some guys that just ended up not working out. I think getting back to that D line that really frightens the offense, really keeps the offensive coaches and the quarterback up at night. Um, is what we'd love to see TCU defense get back to. So
Yeah.
hopefully, Mr. Carter can do that work in the Carter for us.
Hey, there you go. Hey, that worked out. That was a good pun. But yeah, no, it seems like last year it wasn't the overarching like horrible problem, but it definitely seemed like at times last season the D line, just the front seven in general, were just making some head scratching plays. Like, guys, come on, what are you doing? Like, we can't give
Yeah,
up 30 yards on a 4th and 2 run.
yeah. The
Like,
the run defense was especially bad, and
yeah,
that obviously starts up front. So hopefully we're bringing in the right guys to help fix that up.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Who else we got coming in?
So the other one that committed this week is a 3-star offensive lineman. His name's Cooper Powers. He plays at De La Salle, which is a powerhouse high school football program in California. Um, 3-star guy, but an elite student. So he's got offers from Yale and Columbia and UPenn and Princeton, and he also has P5 offers like Washington State, Mizzou, Indiana, I think. So
Which are all
he,
very good academic schools as well.
yeah. So I mean, he's definitely a big brain on Cooper, and he's a big dude, ready to come in and work on the offensive line. And again, this has been a place where when TCU is really good, they've got the stars on the offensive line. Your Marcus Cannon and those guys who go to the NFL and have won Super Bowls and all of that kind of thing. So getting some offensive linemen back in who can rejuvenate things, I think is going to be big. Um, and hopefully this guy is a contributor for the future.
Yeah, because again, even last year I think the offensive line did all right last year. Like I think overall it was pretty solid, but
Some holes,
few.
some big
Yeah,
holes
exactly. That's what I was about to say.
that fell apart in key spots. I mean, I
Yeah,
think Obina Easy was really good. I think Steve Avila at center was solid.
yeah. Vila did
Um,
pretty good.
but it has to work as a unit. So
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
kind of those are the stats though you love to see. Like I know it's just funny whenever you're reading up on a prospect or a recruit and like they're listed as like the elite student, with all their academic stuff. It's like it's cool to see. That's definitely the kind of guy you'd want in your locker room. So love it, and also just personal irony that he goes to De La Salle. That's kind of weird. It's where my girlfriend went. So
Ah,
kind of funny correlation there. But all right. Yeah. So overall with recruiting, I guess kind of already hinted at it a little bit with the Sonny Dykes hype. Do you think he's going to live up to the recruiting prowess to keep TCU going on the trajectory that Gary had us at?
yeah. I mean, it's to be determined. The hope is that he brings us to new heights,
Yeah.
certainly. But I think he's doing all the right things. He's putting the TCU name out there. He's hosted that big camp a couple weekends ago where
Mm-hmm.
you had hundreds of guys in to come and show out, not just for TCU but for other coaches as well. So really showing off what TCU has to offer. And we've been seeing a lot of buzz already. There's been a lot of top fives of big time recruits that include the Frogs. A lot of offers going out, so it's only going to continue. I mean, obviously, Ruben Owens, who's the number one running back
Yeah.
recruit for the 23 class, he was on campus. Dykes brought out LaDainian Tomlinson to help out with the
Pull out all the
visit.
stops. Yep.
So and from all the news generated out of that, seems like Owens really enjoyed that visit and had the Frogs perhaps leading in his recruitment. It's obviously early, but um, it's good to see things like that, to see that big time recruits still understand that this is the place to where they can really showcase themselves and have big success and be coached up. And so it's good to see, and hopefully we can bring in the right guys that get the Horned Frogs back in the winning ways.
Yeah, I think it's also really nice to see Dykes too. Obviously, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing, good at his job, but like to just come in and immediately get on the recruiting bandwagon, just immediately jump into it, already make some splashes is really that's what you love to see as a Horned Frog fan. And overall, I've noticed too just the way, not to compare Patterson and Dykes by any means, but just kind of the way that Dykes handles the media, the way he is on social media, just interacting with the fans almost. I think he does a great job at it, and it attracts the young players. Like they kind of want to play for that fun guy. He's doing all these cool hip things that the kids would say, but like Dykes is bought in fully. You can already tell like he is TCU through and through, and he wants to build the program bigger than we ever thought it could be because obviously Patterson had such a lasting impact, but I think if we're talking about recruiting and adapting to like the modern college football era, he was stubborn. He was just too stubborn. He didn't want to adapt, didn't want to get involved with this NIL stuff. And it looks like Dykes has already made that a priority. And to see that after just having the job for half a year, love it. Love to see it. Bring me some more Dykes. Bring us some more 5 stars. Let's get it.
It's a requirement. It's the only way to live right now. I mean, it really
Exactly. Yeah.
is. So and it's the thing that probably ended up helping to push Gary out, and
Yeah.
it's what Sonny knows he has to do to succeed and to keep things going here in Fort Worth.
I'll never forget because I went to the event. I don't know if it was like a media event or what exactly to call it, but it was the NIL event with a bunch of business owners from around the area and all the head coaches coming to talk and speak about it. And I think this actually happened like 2 weeks before Gary got let go. And I covered it for Frogs of War. And the whole time Gary took over on stage. Like he took the mic and he was basically just yelling like, if we don't get millions of dollars from you guys, we're gonna lose all of our players. I got guys that want to play football, but they want to feed their family more. So if they get money, they're packing their bags, they're going. But like he was just going on, and then it's like, okay, Gary, well, if you're gonna yell at people to donate, shovel you money, then maybe you should kind of do something like a plan with what you're gonna do with that money. Because now we're seeing like the Jimbo stuff where and the Nick Saban stuff where you're gonna have to basically have a budget for NIL to pay players, like a salary cap.
Yeah, I mean it's what it takes to get these guys, and it's great for the players. I mean, it's absolutely they deserve to capitalize on their
Oh,
skills and
100%.
talent and
Yeah.
their marketability. I mean, the schools and I mean all of us where we've got this whole there's a whole media industry built around it. So yeah, absolutely deserve all of that. And for Gary to say stuff like that, though, it was very. I definitely remember all of the news reporting out of that of like, well, you don't put any of your guys in front of the media, you don't put
Yeah,
any of your guys
exactly.
in position to take advantage of any of this stuff, and then
Yeah.
you're yelling at all the business leaders like, hey, all of our players are going to transfer because they're not making any money here, and well, maybe there's a reason you got to give them that opportunity.
Yeah, and then
And
after somebody complains about no media availability, he gives us the third string tight end,
right,
like that's a freshman ROTC walk on. Like, come on, Gary. Come on.
yeah.
Like, no fit, like love the kid. He's a great kid, but that's not necessarily who we want quotes for after like a really close game. So yeah, it's
Yeah, and I think he said a lot of problematic things.
yeah.
I don't know if it was that one or if it was some other interview where he was talking about like people with dirt floors and like it was just like, man,
He
it was a
kind of
little bit of No Country for Old Men. Like, oh boy, like this guy, I don't know.
he
I
kind
think
of
he's I
didn't
think he's
hold
gone.
back. Yeah, he didn't hold back on some stuff. Like he was literally like just being like, I have guys who are supporting their family entirely. They have kids, like, and I'm like, all right, Gary, like we don't need to just open up like these kids' entire situations.
Yeah,
Like he broke down our Darius Washington situation and like why he left for the draft. And I'm like, I totally understand it, but you don't need to like out this man's struggles. I don't know. It was just a bit extreme. I don't know if it contributed to him being let go, but all in all, that's not really the discussion. It isn't about Gary. Yeah, it's just I guess my last question for the NIL and recruiting stuff is Ohio State came out. Ryan Day said that they're going to need about $14 million a year to maintain their roster. And it's probably going to keep going up every year. So do you think TCU is going to hop on that boat where we straight up just have a set budget set aside for NIL purposes or
yeah. I
basically
mean,
having players on salary? Like,
you know, I think it's a tricky thing to talk around because it can't technically be the school saying that it's that's not Ohio State's money that's paying $14 million. It's Ohio State. I don't know, businesses in
exactly. Yeah.
Columbus or some car dealership or Coca-Cola or whatever. So yeah, TCU does have NIL collectives. I think there's one prominent one. There's probably several. To go with, obviously TCU has business leaders. Fort Worth has a
It's
lot
a
of
perfect spot. Yeah, it's a perfect spot for
there's
NIL.
a lot of opportunity in the space in the big city here. So um, you have to think that TCU will absolutely play in that field. I don't know that the collectives will generate the kind of cash that Ohio State collectives
Yeah.
have, or most of
I don't know
those
though.
those big those big places. I mean, there's just the sheer volume of people. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you have I don't know, 20 million people giving $5 a month to a collective, then you're
A lot more
generating a lot of
than
cash.
90,000 giving $20. Yeah.
Right. So it's
I
and
see
I
what you're
think
saying though.
and I think what he's saying there also is a testament to their recruiting has been at such a high level that they in order to get their players, they need to have big NIL opportunities, and in order to keep them, they have to have big NIL opportunities, and because they may not be getting on the field right away either, because the
Hmm.
roster's so stacked. So you've got some, they've recruited 5-star quarterbacks like 4 years in a row, and I mean CJ Stroud is still going to be the guy. Ewers left. They've got this guy McCord and Devin Brown. They've got a whole list
I
of
mean, yeah, you had 1
5-star
year.
quarterbacks, and it, those guys want to play, and they could play anywhere else in the country. And if somebody's going to pay them $1 million or whatever, um, why wouldn't they go somewhere else? So I mean, it's a tough, it's a really difficult thing for these coaches. I can't imagine it's their jobs got harder, I'm sure.
Yeah, because also like the Ohio State example, 1 year they had in the same quarterback room JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow. Two of
Right.
them are first round draft picks. Guess which one was the starter?
Yep.
JT Barrett. So it's crazy, And if you think about NIL, would Joe Burrow have transferred to LSU if he was still getting paid as a backup until he got his time? So there's a lot of butterfly effect kind of things to think about with the what ifs and what could have beens with all this. So I wouldn't be surprised though, just because TCU is, I mean, it's no secret TCU is a bit of a wealthy school. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to pull together some money, not $14 million maybe like Ohio State level, but enough to where we can talk to our recruits, talk to even our current players and be like, look, here's what we have like from these people that want to work with you kind of thing. Like, I just want to see more of being that middleman of helping the players reach the business, which is kind of what was supposed to happen when we made that deal with Open House.
Right.
But I haven't seen like anything
Yeah.
come of
Open
that
doors. I
necessarily.
think
Open
open
doors, yeah,
doors. Yeah.
you're right, yeah. I think one player maybe like Alexander Honig, the
Oh
German
yeah.
QB, he made like a link in his Twitter bio to where he would, tweet about your company, make an Instagram post. He would do like a FaceTime call, all these random stuff just about like his persona. And it's awesome, but it's not like big, it's like $20 for an Instagram post and stuff like that. But that's not what's gonna feed your family, for these 5-star recruits and stuff that kind of need the money now, or else they're gonna think about NFL opportunities. So yeah, so many more variables have been thrown into the mix of college football. It's gonna be weird to see how it pans out, but back to just the overall, we kind of went off topic. Sonny Dykes is gonna kill it. Okay. I'm feeling pretty confident with how he's going. We're just talking football, we get off on tangents, but
Well, and yeah, I'm gonna keep going on the tangent because I think in TCU's history, this was obviously before any of our time, but back in the Southwest Conference days in the
sir.
'80s, they TCU was doing just as much dirt as SMU was. They were just really bad at it. Just getting the wrong guys, or like just not good enough. So TCU will definitely have the ability to go get the right guys and keep the right guys, and it's just hopefully you have to hope that Dykes and his crew of coaches and everything will get the right guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so far it looks like they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, only time will tell. Obviously, you never know how these recruits are going to work out in the Carter, but so far so good. I don't really have any complaints from what we've seen in the off season. But alrighty, that is most of the. I guess it was supposed to be quick news hits, but 45-minute news hits. Just talking TCU sports.
We're just
What can
chatting.
you do? Yeah. So kind of going backwards a little bit to the NCAA baseball tournament, where TCU fell to Texas A&M and College Station in the regional round. We covered that on last week's episode, so if you haven't heard that, make sure to go check it out. But we also predicted our super regional matchup choices, and now we have our final results. So neither one of us did fantastic, I will say. Right off the bat, both of us, and I think 99.9% of the world, other than Notre Dame fans, picked Tennessee. And I could not believe that Notre Dame won. I turned the game off when it was like I think it was 3-1 Tennessee, and I was like, oh, okay, Tennessee took the lead, they're gonna win. Like,
That'll
and
do it.
I started doing something else, and then my dad texted me like, did you see Tennessee lost? I was like, no way, like no way. So crazier things have happened, I guess, but it's insane. After 7 losses all regular season, oh, that would be so frustrating.
It just points to how ridiculously hard it is to get to Omaha. Like
Yes,
it's to get to
anything can
Omaha
happen.
alone is so difficult, and then to end up winning it there. I mean, it's got to be probably the hardest championship to win. I mean, being a tournament like this, you don't really get any breaks to jump into that Elite Eight. I mean, there's no skating through
I think it's
to get
also
to
the
Omaha.
most. I think it's also the most subjective championship in the sense of like one tiny matchup
Yep.
change could affect the entire
Yeah.
bracket, or one pitching choice, you go with this guy instead of that guy, could affect everything. So it's just like so many variables, makes it really exciting though from a fan's perspective. But yeah, that just showcases how hard it is. Makes me feel a little bit better, that TCU didn't make it if guys like Tennessee are falling down. But next up, though, we both went 0-1 on that one. We both went 1-0 on this one, though. Both of us picked Texas to advance over 8 seed Eastern Carolina. So I think they lost game 1, right? And then won 2 and 3 back to back.
That's right. Yeah. That
Last one was pretty exciting.
the ECU crowd was going crazy. I watched almost all of that first game and looked like such a good time, and they were all throwing the horns down and but
I love how
yeah,
it's become a
just at
thing.
the one game. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much nationwide.
Yeah.
Horns down.
Yeah, ever since
Yeah,
they
and
complained to the Big 12.
yeah, the Longhorns are now betting favorites to win the national championship.
Wow.
So
I can see that.
it's which is kind of a bummer, but
That is a bummer because I feel like if TCU and Texas were to play a 2 or 3 game series right now, I'd like to think we would take them down, but who knows? I mean, it would be a little bit of rematch from the regular season. They got us in the regular, we get them in the postseason. That's how it works sometimes. But no, I think it makes sense with Texas as the favorite, just based off the field that ended up qualifying. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see Stanford as the favorite either. I'm sure they're probably not too far
they're the
behind,
second.
right?
Yeah, they're number
Yeah.
2.
Okay, that one makes sense as well. But another Texas team made it. It would have been the Frogs if all things had gone to plan, but Texas A&M, the Aggies, they took down Louisville, so they're moving on to the World Series. And on that one, I picked the Aggies. Anthony had Louisville, which was honestly incredibly close, though. I mean, those were really good games, really fun to watch, but Louisville couldn't get it done. And then next up, another split one. I took Oklahoma over Virginia Tech, and the upset pulled through. My one upset that pulled through, my other one not so much. But so Oklahoma is advancing. A lot of people had talked about them as a sleeper, kind of getting hot at the right time towards the end of the season, playing well in the Big 12 tournament, and they showed out. They played really well in the regional and the super regional, especially against Virginia Tech. They earned it. They played their heart out. I think it's nice to see another Big 12 team in there, although it's not fun to root for Texas or OU. It makes the Big 12 look better. So there's that. And then Anthony had the Hokies on that one. And then, Anthony, I'll hand it over to you for the last 4.
Yeah. To close it out, Oregon State did not get it done.
Yeah, I was very surprised with that too.
That one against Auburn, and I think a theme here is SEC and future SEC, except for Tennessee. So we're going through Texas, A&M, OU, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Quite literally.
That's a lot of SEC. So
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
It's too bad. But the worst thing about this game, the series, the Oregon State Auburn series, was you couldn't tell which team was which because they were like swapping their orange and blue jerseys, and then the ESPN like ticker would have the colors reversed, and you had to I don't know. It was hard as a like just have it on in the background and you're like, oh, there's a home run or something from Oregon State. No, that was
It was
Auburn.
wrong
Okay.
team. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember seeing that too on Twitter. It was confusing, but
And so yeah, next one, Southern Miss and Ole Miss, and again the SEC team took it, and again Ryan picked it correctly, and I picked it incorrectly. I got straight up smashed on this this pick. I only got 3 correct of the 8, so I didn't do us too proud there.
for the
But I
Curry
did get
Cup.
did get Arkansas, and actually in the Curry Cup, we're not in too bad shape. I think we're still only 2 points behind the Lupton
Okay.
Drinking Club. So that's really that's the fight here. I don't know that
Yeah.
we'll catch up to the top, or we're not going to be in the winnings there at the top of the list. That's probably not going to happen. But if we could catch the LDC and you pick through, they reset, so you get new picks for the College World Series. So we might have to we
Oh,
might have to
gotcha.
coordinate so that I don't make such bad picks next time.
No,
Uh,
it's all fine. Anything can happen.
and then let's see. Yeah, Arkansas is the team that I'm really rooting for. I think that's the team that I'm hoping wins
Yeah.
in Omaha. They're my favorite to watch, and I don't have any ill will towards the Hogs. So I think that's the team I'm rooting for. So sorry, Arkansas fans, if that's the kiss of death, but you're the ones I'm rooting for. And then yeah, Stanford took down UConn in Ryan's big upset pick didn't come through, but went right down to the end. I mean, they had to play
I
late into
know.
Monday night and into the third game. So it
I was
was it
about to
was not a
text you.
bad pick. It was a good pick. It was no question a good pick,
I
but
was about to
it just
text
didn't
you after
happen.
game one, like, yo, how
Uh-oh,
about them
here it
Huskies,
is.
baby? How about them Huskies? But I mean, I knew Stanford would definitely win game two. But yeah, game three was really fun to watch. And then I think I'm also rooting for Arkansas as well. I wouldn't mind Stanford either. I have no ill will for them, but it would have been whoever beat Tennessee if it wasn't Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. I mean, yeah,
Any other
can't do
team in
that.
the country other than Notre Dame, I guess probably, or USC. I just can't root for either team. I don't know why, mostly because of college football stuff. But
There you go.
yeah, and so I don't want Notre Dame to do anything, but it would have been cool to see, the underdog that beat the number one seed make it all the way, go to the championship, but not the Irish, not you guys. But yeah, so overall 5-3 on the picks for me. Anthony 3-5. It's not a major difference, but again, that just shows how crazy baseball is because I feel like Anthony was a little bit safer in his picks because I kind of
The
had
upsets came through for
Oklahoma.
sure.
Yeah, Oklahoma was an upset. Ole Miss was a bit of an upset. So yeah, they did come through. Sadly, not UConn, but it is what it is. So after kind of having some time off to think about it, just to watch baseball without the stress of being in it and having to worry about elimination games, how do you feel about TCU's loss now? Was that loss in College Station like all-time devastating, or was it kind of just, hey, we've had a good season. It's the end. That's how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I mean, I think in the moment it was mostly hard to lose in the
The
first
way
opportunity against Schloss
and the way we
in
lost
that
too.
way, right? I
Yeah.
mean, going with the lead into the ninth inning, in their building against with the history against those fans are so crazy, and it's a tough environment, and the old coach, and it felt really like, man, we had it right there, and it was devastating at the time. I think with a bit of perspective for me, it's you know again, on the flip side of that is it's Kirk Saarloos's first season,
First
and
postseason, yeah.
and he's brought him to a Big 12 championship and brought him to that regional final point, and it's you couldn't ask for a whole lot more, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I think the team, there was a lot to be proud of, and I think it's it sucks to lose, but it's not for me. It's not in the top of most devastating losses in TCU history by any means.
Yeah, I think at the moment, especially just like being at the stadium in the environment where the emotions were very high in the stands, and it felt like the baseball gods just stuck their hand in my chest, ripped out my heart, stomped on it after that ninth inning because it was a roller coaster. And in the eighth, I was like, oh my God, we did it. Like we got that 2-run home run, 3 more outs, please. And then it went down. So at the moment, it definitely felt like one of those devastating, just, oh, how could we lose after this with all the hype and everything? But then now that I've had time to reflect, kind of like you said, I think it's not up there with like the worst losses. We didn't necessarily have any expectations. If we were the host and in A&M spot and then lost 2 games in a row, that would be way more devastating. So it could have been worse. It's just kind of once you're there, you want everything. Like once you get to that point, you want it all. Same thing like with TCU basketball. After having one tournament win, we were like, screw it, let's go to the Sweet 16. Let's do it. So like kind of like that. We were at that point. We had A&M where we wanted them, and then couldn't get it done. So if you had to pick though, what would you say is the most devastating loss of all time?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's probably not an answer that everyone else has. Mine is the Dallas Baptist loss in 2011, Fort Worth Regional. That's a team that coming off of an Omaha run the year prior had Matt Perk and Kyle Winkler, 2 superstar ace starters coming back, who both had to kind of work through injuries through the season, but had them available for that regional, and and end up losing that game to Dallas Baptist by 1 run. And that's one where in the stadium the Dallas Baptist fans were not fun to be around, and they were having a good time having won that game. And but really, and that wasn't even the last game of the regional. TCU ended up losing to Oral Roberts actually, to get eliminated. But that game, it was
Turning
like
point.
it was a painful, and clearly the Frogs weren't going to recover. Um, it was like a huge stab in the heart of, okay, I thought coming out off an Omaha team that returns its 2 aces, why obviously we're going to go back to Omaha again. And it felt like, oh well, if this team's not going, maybe we'll never go again. And of
Yeah.
course that wasn't the case, and the team went on a run later on. But in the moment, that one hurt me the most. uh, not as huge as some of the ones in Omaha, but for me that was the painful one.
See, I don't necessarily remember that one as much because I was 10 when it happened. So I have no comment on that, but I do know what you're talking about, though. Like I've just in terms of TCU folklore, like I've heard of that, the DBU, and I know that's kind of one of the big things of our small rivalry between the programs with TCU and DBU. But I think if I had to pick one that I was like, really in tune for, and the details are going to be fuzzy, but looking back in 2016, Coastal Carolina, that was really frustrating, especially because they went on to win the whole thing,
Yeah,
and it was almost like that should have been us.
should have been our year. That was
it,
our year for sure.
it was our year. Yeah, I think that was the best team we had overall. But again, back to that conversation of crazy stuff happens in baseball. It's just whoever's on their game that day. And that's what happened. So if I had to pick a devastating loss, definitely that. Also, just because we were right there to the national championship. And so that's way worse than losing in a regional, in my opinion. Well, I'm not trying to like compare it to that 2011 one,
No,
but
that's the correct answer. Your answer is the correct answer, but it's just,
I know what you mean in terms
you
of
know,
heartbreak. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I get you. Yeah, I was kind of meaning like compared to this year. Like, it's definitely
Oh
not
yeah.
as it's
Oh yeah,
way
yeah.
more heartbreaking than what we had happen this year. So overall, though, let's hope TCU baseball has no more heartbreaking losses next year because I'm liking the way we're looking.
Let's go get that natty. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That reminds me. That's one we left off of the news. Um, Baylor infielder
Oh yeah,
Trey Richardson
transfer.
um, transferred to TCU, so that fills one of the spots, whether he fills in at short or at second, for the departing Tommy Sacco or Gray Rogers. That's a huge addition. He was excellent against TCU this season, and he's been a Big 12 honorable mention. He's uh, gets it done defensively and definitely with the bat in his hand. So that's a huge addition to fill that hole in the lineup, and probably jumps right in near the top of the lineup to start the season next year.
Yeah, he's very athletic. Just in the few kind of like highlight clips and everything I've seen from him. So very excited to see what he'll offer, and I'm sure he will also kind of just find his way right into the lineup. So yeah, all right. I guess we're already an hour through, so I'll leave it up to you if we wanna do this wrap up, because I'm not. We could probably talk about a wrap up for like another hour itself.
Oh yeah.
And like
I
I
know
don't want
we've
to.
we've pushed this off 2 weeks in a row. I think
I know.
I think we can probably hit it next week. To be honest, I mean there's plenty to talk about. We've thanks for hanging out with us
Yeah,
for an
for an
hour
hour.
already. I think we don't need to hold you guys any longer. And we're in a pretty slow period here, so I think we're definitely going to start getting into football preview stuff over the next obviously couple months, but there's still space to let this season breathe, and we can hit the wrap up next time, I think.
Yeah, just because again, I think based on how we spent 45 minutes talking about our quick news, I think we might spend another
I
hour
know,
just
I
just
know,
going through each of these sports. And I wanna do this justice. Like if we're gonna do like
for
a little
sure.
recap, kind of talk about it, I think we need to do it justice. So I know at the beginning of the episode, I kind of previewed what we were gonna talk about, but I sorry, we're gonna push it to next week just because also I'm sure you guys probably don't want to stay for like 3 hours. That's just a really ridiculously long podcast. So also no need to force it. Like we have plenty of time to get out the content. Like you said, summer it's gonna be slow. Gonna have mostly kind of the quick news hits and then whatever fun thing we want to talk about, like college baseball scenario and everything. So yeah, we'll see what we got for you next week other than this, but for sure, be prepared. We're doing it next week no matter what. We're getting it done. So be prepared next week, 2021, 2022 TCU athletics wrap up. Every sport kind of going to be diving into a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So hopefully we can get that done. I mean, unless something just absolutely major happens in the next week to where we're like, oh my gosh, like Jamie Dixon, Sonny Dykes, and Kirk Sarloos all left on the same day. Like, I don't even know, something like that. But
Hopefully not.
I was
Hopefully
about to
we
say, I guess I
let's
shouldn't even
let's
speak
get
that into
yeah.
existence. Yeah, that was bad omen. My bad. I just try to think of something
All of
chaotic,
the 5 stars listed on 24/7 commit to TCU. That's a better.
That
Let's
yeah,
use
let's
that
do
scenario.
that. Yes, and then we'll have to be like, oh my god, what are we gonna
Arch
do with these
Manning
guys?
has committed to TCU. Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening. Book it, guys. You heard it here. Frogs War podcast. Arch Manning. No, no shot. That'd be sick though. It'd be pretty cool. But
Come on.
leave it to Sonny Dykes. Hey, he can make it happen. But alrighty, guys, that's going to be it for this week. We appreciate if you stayed all the way through. Always appreciate you guys listening. And as always, feel free, drop a comment if there's any sort of segment, anything, any questions you guys have that you want us to cover on the podcast. We are always open ears. And yeah, just appreciate you guys tuning in. We have a lot of fun with this. So we'll be back next week to do a little bit of a recap. All right. Till then, go Frogs.
Go Frogs.